Good morning, YouTube. Wow, it's been quite the night for us. One of the things I want to talk to you about is night terrors. Um, Night terrors is when a child or adult has a really bad dream, and it kind of is the same as sleepwalking with a nightmare. The child is awake, but not really awake. They're looking at you. They can talk to you, but they don't understand what's going on, and they don't really get the fact that they're talking. Like, it's like sleep talking, sleepwalking. They actually do get up and walk around, um, but it's like and it's also having a nightmare. So something bad is happening in the dream. Um, so one of the things that we found with Nevaeh since a very young age was that she had night terrors. At first, we just thought it was pretty much bad dreams until it started escalating into sitting there screaming. And when you would come in, you would ask her, "What's wrong?" She'd just kind of look at you with this blank stare, like, "Who are you and what have you done to my mother?" kind of thing. She really, sometimes she wakes up out of it on her own, and when you ask what happened, she cannot tell you what the dream was about. So, anyways, last night we had a very interesting night terror. It started out as screaming, saying, "Help me, help me, help me. Um, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me," which is always, when you hear your child screaming that in their sleep, you know that something very horrible is going on. And it breaks your heart to hear that. So last night, she was screaming, "Help me," and, "Mommy, please come get me. Save me, Mommy." And she ended up coming out of her bedroom and walking into our room, walking around and on her tiptoes, and she was very disoriented. Usually when this happens, she either A, has to go pee, or B, there's usually something else underlying. So normally we direct her to the bathroom, and she goes to the bathroom, and then she goes back to bed and falls asleep. Um, the thing about the night terrors is that it's always when something major has happened in her life. Um, she always gets night terrors around the time when um, the first week of school. She definitely has night terrors. If we change up her routine, as in um, the Christmas break, night terrors pretty much every night because she was not going to school. Um, she gets night terrors when things change at school. So for example, last year in JK, the school was having a spring concert, and for 3 or 4 weeks they were practicing singing their songs, and they were taking a little bit of time out of every day to go practice. The problem was is that it wasn't scheduled in at a specific time in the day, and she started out with night terrors, and by the day of the concert it had completely escalated into full-blown meltdowns where she was actually starting to become very physical and violent with me, which is a very major sign that something is going on other than just, "I don't want to do this." So that was, so when it got to the point where she was hitting and kicking me, I went into the school. I'm like, "Look, something's going on. What has changed?" And immediately we had discovered that um, she had been thrown out of her schedule every day for the last couple of weeks, because they had been practicing for this concert. Um, the best way to deal with a night terror really is just to talk to them gently. Do not wake your child. If your child is having a night terror, do not wake them. It is the worst thing you can do. It actually can send them into shock. Um, Best thing to do is just like with a person who is sleepwalking, guide them back to their bed, lay them back down, rub their back very gently. You're actually not supposed to touch them, but if you do, make sure that it's not in a jerky movement. Um, it's nothing to break the pattern of what's already happening. So you can guide them back to bed and put them down to sleep. Um, Night terrors are a very good indication that your child is going through something, whether it be an emotional change. For example, if you have another baby, come into your house, the night terrors can start. We recently had a baby about 4 or 5 months ago. She's actually 4.5 months, and she was born premature, and I had to spend a week and a half driving to and from the hospital. Her hospital stay wasn't very long, but I had to spend a week and a half driving to and from the hospital after I was released. For Nevaeh, this was horrific. She started with the night terrors because mommy wasn't home, and then it escalated into school not wanting to get on the bus because she knew as soon as she got on the bus and came home, mommy was going to be feeding her lunch, sending her off to Nana's, and then mommy would be gone all afternoon, and for her that was very disrupting in her schedule. Um, Again, when we started swimming lessons this summer, she loved the swimming lessons, but again, the night terrors started after about 2 nights because she was going to bed on time and we were waking up at a certain time in the morning every morning to make sure that we were at swimming lessons in time. And because we had broken her pattern again, the night terrors started. Um, there's a very huge connection with these kids. My worst nightmare is going through puberty. Um, How do you explain to a child what's happening with their body and the changes that are happening when it's not going to be a consistent part of their routine? Like I said again, the transition into school is always hard because it's a break in the pattern. So night terrors are a huge thing. Don't worry about it. It's heartbreaking to hear. It's kind of freaky um, to hear, but it is a completely normal, so to speak, attribute that happens. I mean, kids who are not autistic can also have night terrors. I've heard of other parents talking about night terrors and how freaky it is. But when you deal with it on a regular basis, like we do, you learn the ins and outs of the night terrors. Um, when we first started noticing it was when she was about 3.5, and we had decided to try potty training her. Um, Potty training was hard in some ways and was easy in others. It was hard because she didn't understand at first she didn't understand the urge to go. She didn't make the connection between this means if I have this urge, I sit on potty and I go. Whereas once she understood the urge, because it was such a part of a routine, because I was putting her every 20 minutes to make sure that I was catching it on the potty, that she did get it. But I would say for a good 4 or 5 weeks, we dealt every night with night terrors. And at that point, she was nonverbal. So she was screaming a lot. And it breaks your heart because you just hear your child screaming. And I know I keep saying you break your heart, but if you want to know what a night terror is, Google night terror or watch a video on what a night terror really is. Um, I will not be taping a video of a night terror because I think that that's would just be traumatic for me to put that up on YouTube and to see that. But yeah, Google it. Very scary business. Completely normal. Will not mentally hurt them, but it's not a nice experience to go through. Um, so yeah, that is my little segment on night terrors. So stay tuned in for the next one. See you later, YouTube.